Hello students, this is your video that will accompany the data visualization presentation and project assignment release. So that assignment has been posted to our Learn site, and I'm going to take some time in this video to review the assignment with you and show you some examples of the textual components submitted by students last semester, as well as the graded rubrics for that assignment. I do not have any samples of the presentation part. The last time I taught this class, it was hybrid, so the students gave those presentations in person. So I don't have any examples to share with you, but you can read the prompt for the details of what I want in the presentation, and I'll get to that in a moment. So here is our week 5 right now, which is where we are. So on Friday, your assignment will be officially released. It is available now, it turns out. And I will be emailing you on Friday with the names and the contact information of the members of your group. By next week, week 6, you need to already be meeting with members of your group by Google Hangouts or Skype or in person if you guys can arrange it. So that you can start strategizing for how to successfully complete this assignment. So let's see here. Here is your assignment, the group project for the data visualization and the presentation. So the data visualization itself is it's going to be a document where you have a text component and a data visualization component. So as it says here, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but this is a collaborative project, and learning to collaborate remotely is of critical importance when you are entering the technical communication workforce in the 21st century. You won't always be in the same place, in the same facility with the people with whom you're collaborating. So I'm trying to replicate a remote collaboration process for you in this assignment. So with your group mates, you'll all individually look at this data set here, and it's linked here, and it looks like this. It's a long 27-page PDF that is the spring 2006, so that's a year ago, the official enrollment report for the University of New Mexico. So this report consists largely of tables of numbers. There's a few data maps in here, but largely it's tables of numbers. And they each have a heading that says what they show. So if we go back up to the top, you'll see here's enrollment status, students who are concurrent high school enrollment for all of these different years. And then this reflects the changes in that data. There's head count, how many students there are per level, undergraduate, non-degree, in the Anderson School of Management, graduate students in the law school and the medical school. If you look through this, there's lots of different things, head count by level and gender, and if we scroll down deeper into the document, you'll see head count by student college, so undergraduate students in management or arts and sciences or nursing. So there's a lot of different kinds of data contained in this report, and once you read deeper into your textbook, particularly in chapter 12, which you read next week, I want you to start to ask yourself, are these tables the most effective and engaging way of presenting this information? So the first thing you need to figure out by doing a little sleuthing is, for whom was this data originally produced? And you can look at the URL here for this data and find out the population for whom this was originally written and composed. And then I need you to think about, how would I repurpose this data and redesign this data in a different kind of data visualization to be used by somebody else? Like, could this be used by a specific student group? Could this be used by a particular department or a particular college, a particular graduate program, a particular club on campus? So you need to redesign this data for a different audience. So once you and your group mates determine which categories of data here, you need to choose 1 or 2 categories of data. So this would be like one of these tables. So these are the branch campuses: Gallup branch, Los Alamos branch, head count, student credits. So this is one group of data here. So once you decide which groups of data you want to use, you have to also decide with your group mates what kind of graphics you want to use here. I require that you use a table. There already is a table, but you have to repurpose this into another table. You have to do a bar graph and a line graph, and then you, as a group, get to choose one other type of graphic. It could be a different kind of data map. It could be an infographic. But it cannot be a pie chart. Perhaps in another video I will go into the reasons for that. But your book in chapter 12 gives a whole list starting on in the table on page 308 of a whole series of different kinds of data visualizations that you can choose. I will note for you that there are two websites that you'll want to probably look at. One is called Infogram and one is called Piktochart. And those websites help you convert your data into visually appealing graphics. So you have to go into using those websites knowledgeably and know what will work best for the data that you have and what colors you want to use, and there has to be a reason for the colors that you use, all of the things that your book raises, to use those online resources. Anyway, also, of course, this week I ask you to read about Edward Tufte, who is a critically important figure in the field of data visualization. There's a whole separate video that I've already recorded and included this week about Edward Tufte's message and his importance. So that should guide your design of your data visualizations. So in addition to converting some of that pre-existing data into new data visualizations, you have to have a text document, a text component, and it has to be at least 4 paragraphs long. All of this will be included in a single PDF. Now, each group is also going to deliver an oral presentation, and you have to share it as you can do it as a Prezi, you can do it as a narrated PowerPoint, but whatever you choose, it has to have images and it has to have narration over the top of it. And that's all described here in this paragraph of your assignment. I do strongly encourage you to convert whatever narrated PowerPoint or Shockwave file, if you've done a Jing video, to convert it into a YouTube video or a Vimeo video so that I can easily access it simply as a URL that you would just paste into the Learn submission area. That will make it the least problematic that I'll be able to view your video. Now, your video itself, your presentation, has to be collaborated on by everybody in the group, and that's why it's a really good idea to use Google Slides to work on it. If you're doing Prezi, you can also collaborate in that space. And you need to be sure that your presentation design itself, the slides that you choose, the text that you have on the screen, all of that reflects solid design principles, and that also the graphics that you include, which will also have been included in the document PDF version, but the graphics that you choose are usable in the video format. So this has like 2 levels, that the presentation design and the graphics included in the presentation are all usable and communicate your knowledge of best design principles for graphical illustrations of information for your audience. And that is for the presentation. Your audience is me and your classmates. So your textbook has information on creating presentations. You can look that up, but you're also really going to want to focus on the information in chapter 12. So here are your due dates. The document and presentation drafts are due on Monday, February 27th. Everybody has to turn those in individually, and everybody has to do peer reviews of people who are not in your group. So you need to meet with your group. I'm insisting that you meet with your group after the drafts are due, but of course you will have met with your group numerous times leading up to that to collaboratively create this presentation and project. But when you meet with your group at the peer review stage, if you haven't done it already, each student is going to have to record a 5-minute screen recording of the meeting. So I can see that you're able to use remote meeting tools online, Google Hangouts or Skype or whatever you've chosen to use. So you need to do a 5-minute screen recording. And if you have a Mac, you can just use QuickTime. It has a built-in screen recording feature. And if you don't, you can all download the free version of Jing. That caps out at a 5-minute maximum, which is why I've selected 5 minutes here for you to use. Then, after you meet with your group, you've got to revise both the presentation and the document and submit the textual component and the link to the presentation by Monday, March 6th, 11:59 p.m. So there's some information about the breakdown of the points here. So please read the assignment really carefully. But I want to show you a few examples here. Here is, I've cut off the top of this here, but this is the textual component that one group from last semester submitted. There's I'm going to block out their names, but it has a memorandum header at the top, and it has the subject as the data visualization. It has their introduction. They talk about the enrollment report here and the 2 data sets that they chose. It's a very clear introduction. It really sets the context for what they had to work with. And then it forecasts what they're going to do. They're going to analyze the graphics. They talk about the graphical types that they chose: scatter plot, bar graph, line graph, and table. A lot of this information comes out of their textbook. They quote from the textbook, which is a really solid way of going about doing this. But they say, what do these different kinds of representations of data do? What are they good for? And then they provide their own analysis. So in each section, they have 2 paragraphs. This is great. They perhaps even provided more content than they needed. So this is basically the preface to showing me their graphics. And then they have them here. Age and gender for UNM medical students. They got this data out of that original data set. Age and gender for law students. They have a caption underneath each image, which is great. You'll see that there is a repeating color scheme across all of these different graphics, blue and green. And they have tried to make it so that these color schemes do not have any negative connotations to them, that they're pretty neutral. And then they have this final graph here. The color scheme here is a little bit different. So let's see how I graded them on this. This one, let me slide this over so you can see it a bit more. They got a 95 here on this presentation. This is the rubric here. Yours is slightly different, but what I want to focus, the point values are different on yours. But I want to focus here on what they did very well, I thought. So they had a few little glitches in terms of punctuation and quotation marks in their first opening part of their document. And they have a running footer on all of their pages, which I thought was a little bit odd. And then they just had some a few little punctuation glitches, but those weren't very problematic. They set up their overall purpose and objective very well, and they quoted from the textbook well. I really didn't have very many problems. They might have said under their captions to figure 1 or something rather than just having nothing but no preface, no sort of title to the caption. But basically, I didn't have much trouble with it. I want to show you this other one that was in which this group of students struggled quite a lot more. They have a heading up here, which is a table, which I'm not going to show you. You can see the bottom of it, but it was sort of odd to have their header as a table itself. So they start off with a summary, which is a sort of a weird way of just jumping right in to the information rather than having an introduction that lays the groundwork, sets the context for the project, tells your reader what you're doing. They just jump right in with saying the first category we chose was this. I, at first blush, might not even know what they're talking about in terms of their category. Go first category, second category, third category, fourth category. But I need to know a larger overview before they even get into that information. Audience, they break up in 4 different paragraphs, and their purpose, and then they have a conclusion here. This is actually too long. They wrote far too much, And they probably should have divided up their content in a similar strategy to this previous group who talked about the content as divided up per graphic. They talked about the audience for the whole project up here at the top, rather than breaking up the audience into 4 different sections. And then they talked about what each graphic does well in a section dedicated to that graphic. Whereas in this groups, they just kind of put all of the graphics together under these other categorical headings, which doesn't really work quite as well. And then at the bottom, and this is the biggest problem, they used Infogram, which is fine, but they just gave me links to their graphics. I need to see the actual graphic in the document like this previous group did. And then they include these stacked line graphs in the document, but not the other graphics. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense why they included these ones, but they didn't include the other ones. They don't have captions beneath these. And another thing that really struck me when I was reading this group's report is it didn't have a lot of continuity across it. It was clear that it was written by multiple people. You need to make sure that in your proofreading stage that you take care of those lacks of continuity. So this is their rubric. They ended up getting a 79. And what I said was the design of their header was a little bit odd. It was not customary to put that information in a table. Their summary section starts off midstream rather than backing up and giving background on the assignment, the data, the audience. And I indicated that there needed to be another audience. I already told you that in this video. Rather than the dataset's original audience. It appears that they chose the class. The class was their audience. But that's not the kind of university-related audience I have in mind for you. I said you might want to choose a club, you know, an organization, a specific department, a specific program, or the like a local community around the university. They have some basic punctuation problems throughout their document. And it does foundationally appear that they misunderstood the assignment. So if you have any questions about the assignment, ask me before you jump in. They chose 4 sets of data, which was too many. I asked you in the assignment to pick 1 or 2. I also mentioned to you guys that their memo doesn't appear to have been edited for concision. It's too long, and it also hasn't been edited for continuity across the sections. I already mentioned to you guys that I thought it was confusing that they just included the URLs rather than including the graphics. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor this too much. I'll return to this one that I thought was really well done, so you guys can just have that as your lasting memory here. And this is the assignment once again, but I'm going to conclude this video, and hopefully now you'll have some sort of narration by me about what I'm looking for in this assignment. So I showed you in this video the textual component, which has the discussion in writing followed by the graphics, all included in a single PDF. That's the textual component. You guys also have to do a presentation, which I was not able to show you in this video because I don't have any prior examples from student groups in the past. But thank you guys for watching, and good luck. I look forward to hearing from you with any questions that you have after you read this assignment.